Good morning, Fairfield Christian. Hope you guys had an awesome weekend. Nice 3-day weekend. You had a chance to relax, maybe do a few things, hang out with your family, go to church. And now we're coming back to school, well rested. Everybody's ready to go and learn. And the best part about it is, yes, the long weekend was nice, but we also have a short week on the other side of that. It's only 4 days of school this week, so be prepared. Now, that doesn't mean we have one less day to memorize our scripture verse, but if we're being honest, most of you probably wait to the last couple days anyway, so it really doesn't make that much difference. All right, and speaking of our scripture verse, let's get into that this week. We are still in the story. We're going throughout the entire Bible, throughout this school year. And so we just finished up the book of Genesis. Now we're starting on the book of Exodus. And so if you remember from last week, Joseph and his family were settling in the land of Goshen. That was one of the best parts of Egypt. So Joseph had saved Egypt and most of the world by preparing for over 7 years for a famine that would also last for 7 years. And so Joseph is a hero. His entire family there, they're all settled. Everything's going great. But now a long period of time takes place. And several pharaohs have been in power since then. And the new pharaoh who's in charge doesn't remember Joseph or his family. Doesn't remember what Joseph did for the nation of Egypt. And all that new pharaoh was thinking about is, wow, there are a lot of Israelites. There may be too many of them. In fact, they may try to take over the country, so we got to do something about this. So he turns the Israelites into slaves, and he starts to treat them incredibly poorly, treats them horribly. During this time, Moses' mother fears for his life. Moses is a little baby, and she's afraid that something's bad going to happen to him. In fact, the Egyptians are meaning to do something bad to him. So his mother puts him in a little basket, sends him down the river, and as luck would have it, or probably not so much luck, more providence than luck, Pharaoh's daughter finds baby Moses and decides to adopt him. But she can't take care of Moses on her own, so she needs a nurse. And again, grand providence takes place. And who does she choose to be Moses' nurse but his own mother? So his own mother gets to raise him. Now, I'm intentionally skipping over some details. We do have some younger listeners, like in kindergarten, first grade. So teachers, feel free to expound on the story within your own class during devotion time throughout the week. But now Moses is growing up in an Egyptian household, in Pharaoh's household. He's there for about 40 years when at one point he's defending some Israelites and he kills an Egyptian guard. Now this is bad because Pharaoh is probably going to want to punish him. So Moses flees, and he flees Egypt and he goes to the land of Midian. He's there in Midian working as a shepherd for about 40 years when all of a sudden God appears in a burning bush. And God tells Moses, you need to go back to Egypt and set my people free. And Moses has a whole list of excuses as to why he can't do that. And God says, that's all hogwash. Here, take Aaron with you. You guys go back and take the people of Israel to the promised land. So Moses and Aaron go back. Moses tells Pharaoh, let my people go. And Pharaoh says, no. And so God says, all right, I'm going to send 10 plagues. So God sends 10 plagues upon Egypt. Pharaoh keeps on saying no through each one until the last one comes around. And Pharaoh finally says, okay, just get out of here. In fact, take a bunch of stuff with you. We just want you gone. So the Israelites take a bunch of stuff with them. They all leave and they head back towards Canaan. After they leave, Pharaoh kind of regrets his decision and says, why did I do that? Send the army after them. So Pharaoh sends the army after the Israelites. Now, fortunately, the Israelites had a pretty good head start. But the Israelites eventually get to the Red Sea, and they can't get any further. They can't go on. The Red Sea is blocking their moving forward, and the Egyptian army is coming up behind them. They are between a rock and a hard place. And so the Israelites have done everything they can do. They fled. They have followed God's command to leave, but there's nothing else they can do. They can't fight. They aren't warriors. They were slaves. They probably have no weapons, and they're probably not trained either. The Egyptian army is trained, and they've got horses, and they've got chariots, and they've got weapons, and they've got armor. So the Israelites are starting to freak out. In fact, they're starting to say things like, we never should have left Egypt. We should have just stayed there as slaves. That would have been better than this, being destroyed by the Egyptian army. And then, while they're freaking out, this is what Moses says in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verses 13 and 14. Elementary, you're just memorizing verse 14, unless your teacher tells you to memorize more. Okay, this is what it says. But Moses told the people, don't be afraid. Just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today will never be seen again. The Lord himself will fight for you. Just stay calm. That's very important because we all know what happens next, right? God parts the Red Sea. The Israelites go across on dry land, get to the other side. In the meantime, the Egyptians are coming along. They hit the Red Sea. They're going down. They're trying to cross it too. And once all the Israelites are out, God closes the Red Sea. And those Egyptians are never seen again. Just like Moses said. God fought for his people. And if there's anything I want you to take away from today and this verse that we're studying this week, is that God fights for you too. God will fight for you. There are things coming against you. The world is always against us, right? The world is not for us. The world is against us. And the ruler of the world right now is our enemy, the devil, Satan. He is working against us as well. But God fights for you. Not just for us as Christians. He fights for you specifically as an individual. The Bible says there's spiritual warfare taking place all around us all the time. God is fighting for you. God has a plan for you. We've talked about this before. He had a plan for the Israelites. And God fights for you every day. I know things get stressful. We can worry about stuff. Everybody worries about all kinds of stuff. All kinds of things they can't even control. And the things we can control, we should take care of. You've heard me say before, we should work like it all depends on us. And we should pray like it all depends on God. But at some points, in every situation, you're going to get to where you can't do anything else. And at that point, you just have to stop. You can't worry. You can't freak out. You can't become stressed. You just have to stand still. Just like it says in the verse. Stand still and wait for God. And God will fight for you. That's important. The Bible says over 200 times, don't be afraid. That's probably, God says that in the Bible so many times, probably because he knows that our natural tendency is to be afraid, to worry, to stress out. There's a ton of stress in the world today. A lot of people are stressed out. That stress would be a lot less if more people knew Jesus and relied on him rather than relying on themselves or relying on other people or relying on the world. So that's the main takeaway today. God fights for you. Know that. And at times, when you've done everything else, when you've exhausted all that you could possibly do, just wait on God. That's all you can do. And God will fight for you. All right? We'll be talking about this verse throughout the week. In fact, this whole section of Exodus we'll be talking about. We'll hear more about this in chapel on Friday as well. Hope you guys have a fantastic week. I'll see you guys real soon. God bless.